This week on LensVid Talk, an interview with Noxon, the OBSBOT Tail 2 PTZ camera, virtual effects in the Vatican, and much more. Stick around.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Lou.
Hey, Ido.
Hi. And we're doing LensVid Talk 34 today. And we're going to start with something a little bit different. I recently did an interview over the email with Noxon. Now, do you remember a few weeks ago when we did LensVid Talk, I think 30 or 31, we mentioned the Noxon arm. Do you remember this product?
The new robot arm.
Yeah, and a fairly inexpensive or relatively affordable robotic arm. I think it was like 7,000 euros or 8,000 euros, something like that. And they made a very small batch for like early adopters or early buyers. And I reached out to them and we talked and I sent them a few questions. Now, I'm not going to read all of them in here. All of the questions and the answers are going to be in the full article. You can see them in the link below on LensVid. But I want to mention a few things that jumped out to me from the interview. So first of all, I want to know where, a little bit about the company, because I never heard about Noxon before. Maybe it's my fault, but it's a fairly new company. I mean, they started in 2016, so about 9 years now, something like that. They're from Spain. So that's an interesting fact. I think their founder is called Pablo. I'm probably butchering this. Guani, or something like that. And they develop basically all sorts of tools for filmmakers. What they're known for is sliders and jibs and robotic arms, robotic heads. So they have like all sorts of like, I would say fairly similar to what you see from maybe Edelkrone. But it's a different ecosystem. So they have the jib, they have a slider that I've seen, and they have the heads. That's the main product that I've seen from them. Now, they started the robotic head, from what they told me, basically because they were trying to make a lot of very complicated moves with the jib, and they found out that there are some limitations to what you can do with the jib, so they went for a robotic arm. Now, what I asked them, we have a robotic arm. We talked about this a couple of times. It's called Loki. It's kind of short. It's fairly expensive. Again, depending on what you consider expensive. You're talking about the big ones, it's very cheap or affordable. If you're talking about this one, then it's about 3 times at least more expensive. But it's shorter, and what I think the Loki is based on an industrial robot arm.
Right.
This one, and I asked them twice because I wasn't sure that I really understood, but apparently it is. This one is a design that they made. It's not an industrial robot that they took and converted in a way with software to,
it's radically different from that.
Yeah. It looks like a robotic arm, and like in general, I'm assuming again that the components are still like regular components that you can get for robotic arm from whatever, China or whatever it is that they're making them, maybe Japan and other places. But generally, this is something that they build in Spain themselves. It's not an existing product from the shelf that they repurposed. So that's an interesting point. What else? Their goal was initially to have this for under 10,000 euros. And I think that at the moment it is. It's, I think, like 8,000, something like that, euros. I don't know. It's very similar in dollars, I think. Again, it's not based on an existing product. What else? It has a very impressive specs. Again, compared to our Loki robot, it's like 1.3 meter long reach. So right. The maximum that the robotic arm can reach is 1.3 meters, way more than our arm.
And this is lighter also?
What,
the actual
robot?
Whole setup, yeah.
I wouldn't say that lighter is a good thing for robots.
Right, but it is, right? It's a smaller, lighter setup.
It's complicated to say. I mean, what part of the robot are you talking about? Just the arm? Yeah, maybe it's light. I'm not sure, but the
Or the
part
whole
which
thing.
is heavier is usually the base.
Right.
And this is where I just mentioned one more thing. Its payload is 6 kilograms, which is much more than our units, about twice as much. The
Interesting.
reach is 1 point something, I think, or close to 2 times as much as we have, but the load is twice as much, which is interesting. If it actually can do that, that's very interesting. What I asked them about, and honestly, I'm not super pleased with the answer. I'm not pleased is not maybe the right word, but it's they've been trying to put this on a tripod. I don't think that's a good solution. Now, you can put it on maybe like a big metal plate and then like lock it into a table or something very heavy, maybe. What I would do, and I think I mentioned this to them, I would probably put it on something that you can put weights on, like very heavy weights, like, and then the user, you don't have to ship it with the weight, because our unit has a base which is like, I don't know, 50 kilograms or something like that. So that's cool, but that's also 50 kilograms to ship, and that was expensive, like really expensive. In our case, what I mean is ship the robot arm, and have the user, bring his own weights. So, I think it's a better solution, but I don't know. So that's another thing. Another point that I made with that they made during the interview, I asked them about how do you control it. So there is a joystick, and you can connect it and use all sorts of software, existing software, but they're not going to make a proprietary software for this, which is different than what we have for the Loki.
Right.
The Loki has its own proprietary software. Is it good or not? That's a different issue, but it does have one. This one won't have one. I also asked them if it's possible to move it by hand and set the points. I know that there are robots that can do that. So you have like a robot arm, and then you could just physically take it and move it like this and say, this is 1 point, this is another point, this is another point, this is another point, and then have the robot calculate the whole thing and move. No, the answer is no. So I don't know how easy it is to actually move it like this.
So is there some open source operating system that they're hoping to use?
Maybe. I'm not entirely sure about this. You should read their answer in the comments. They said something about it can be controlled via a joystick and a knob, and commands from a open library ROS, Dragon Frame, which is a software, and Unreal Engine. This is
Unreal.
Basically Unreal, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Unreal Engine.
right.
So okay. So this is what you can do. I asked them about, they have a turntable. That's another problem. They have like a controllable turntable. I asked them if they're going to connect the two units in a way so the robot can move with the turntable. They said that they don't have plans for this right now. The company that does Loki, Zinema Motion, does have a turntable, and it can be set as a keyframe with the robot, which is really cool. But it's very expensive. So I know. So that's that. What else did they say? We talked about the whole heavy duty tripod. They're using the Pro M heavy duty 150 millimeter tripod. I still don't think that it's enough, but that's me. It has a full focus system. That was not clear to me initially. Yeah, they have their own full focus system. Again, it's something that they have. It's not. I'm guessing that somebody else is making it, but it's not like an existing product. With Loki, we have a product from I forgot the name of the company, a Chinese manufacturer, that we also tested separately some of their products, the full focus products. So it's basically it's an existing product that they used for the arm. It's good, but what else? Okay, pricing again. It's what we said. And I asked them if they have plans to release in the future maybe rails so the robot can actually move. And they said that the answer is that they're thinking about it. So at least that. Again, the Loki does have this, but it's an extra quite a few $1,000s in cost. So It is what it is. So you can read the full basically Q&A in the LensVid Talk article. I put it inside, and you can go over it and see what you think about it. If you want us to review it, let us know. But it's obviously up to Noxon to see if they have a unit that they can ship to us. It's quite expensive unit, and shipping is expensive, so I'm not sure. Let's start by talking about, after the interview, let's start by talking about a few other things. And before we actually go into news, we have a product that we just got. This little cute thing is called the Tail 2. It's by OBSBOT. It's a P2Z camera, PTZ camera.
PTZ, yeah.
PTZ camera. It's a zoom lens. It has I think something
Quite a
like
zoom range.
Yeah, I think something like 30 millimeter equivalent to 100 and something, 115. I don't know. I'll write it on the screen. But it has an interesting zoom range, and it's a 4K PTZ camera, which is cool. It's controlled by, it can be controlled by a bunch of things. It has all sorts of interesting, I'm looking at the back of it. It has two USB-C connectors on the back with HDMIs, a 3G SDI, and LAN connector. And what else? It has a micro SD card slot. It has an app. Quite a few things. So it's an interesting product. Now, when I wanted to mention about that, I didn't even turn it on yet, so we just got it. But what I plan to do with this, and we will see how successful we will be, is to use this as a sort of behind-the-scenes camera for some of the productions that we are doing here at the studio. It wasn't designed for this. Mm-hmm. I asked the OBSBOT if they have an option for basically doing like time lapse. I don't think that it does. Maybe in the future they can add it. But even just as regular video, it can be interesting.
You mean in terms of does it actually assemble the time lapse from the stills that it takes?
I don't think that it can take stills at the moment.
Okay. Not even.
But
stills.
Again, if it can, it's what it's designed for that.
Right.
Yeah, but it can track people, and that's interesting.
Right.
I mean, if you have zoom and tracking capability, maybe you can do all sorts of interesting things. So let's say that you're shooting like a production and you put it somewhere up top, and then somebody you point it at somebody and it tracks the person going on through the filming process, and I don't know, it can be interesting.
Yeah.
We will see, once we play around with this, what it actually could do.
I was thinking of its form factor, and its small size enables me to place it somewhere maybe where I would not be able to stand. So I'm working with a really small deli where the guy's standing behind the deli counter, and there's really nowhere where I can stand to capture him, talking with a customer. But I might be able to put this on a shelf behind his head, or somewhere off to the side, and get a vantage point that I wouldn't be able to otherwise. And a whole bunch of it, like throughout the day. And it could be, I wouldn't even have to be there. So this would be really interesting. I want to try that too.
I'll give you a chance to try it, and maybe we can include it in the full review that is upcoming, and we can talk about all sorts of like use cases for this. Yeah. So that's the OBSBOT Tail 2 PTZ camera. We'll have more about this when we have the full review. Now let's talk about some topics. So in the previous LensVid Talk, we mostly covered cameras and lenses. I think that was most of the stuff that we covered. On this one is more of lighting and accessories. So the first one is pretty unique, I would say. It's, I think, the first really professional Profoto LED product. So this is the Profoto L1600D. It's a 1600 watt LED, COB. And the unique thing is that, if I remember correctly, this is a monolight. So unlike other very high power COB units, which has basically the head and the second part, which is the base or controller or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
This one is a monolight. Just the head controls, has everything. Now, I would say it's good in the sense that you don't have an extra unit. So it's just that. It's pretty big, but it makes sense. you can't really control it from there. But on the other hand, I'm pretty sure that it has an app. So you can probably control it from the app. And that's the way that they're assuming that people will actually use it. I don't know if it has like DMX control and all those things. I don't know. I didn't write it down. I'll write it on the text below, but I'm assuming it does. It's a fairly expensive product. Again, I don't remember the exact cost, but it's fairly expensive. I think like, I don't know, $6,000-$7,000, something like that. Yeah, it's an expensive unit. I'm assuming it's like Hollywood level productions and very high end. I would say commercials. I talked to them actually, and they said that if it will ever, like, they have a unit in Israel, maybe they'll ship us one for review. I wouldn't hold my breath for that, but it's an interesting product from Profoto, getting into the professional like side of things from video, and it has, and this is maybe the most surprising thing, it has both Bowens and Profoto mount. I'm not sure how they do it. Maybe it's interchangeable or something like that. But having a Bowens is much more like you have a lot more options to connect stuff to that, especially for video. So that's the Profoto L1600D. Manfrotto has two new products. I'm not sure exactly how
they're updates.
Exactly. It's not like completely new products. It's basically 055 Legacy and 190.
Legacy does not sound very new.
Yeah, 190 tripod kits with either ball head or fluid heads, and I think they're carbon. Pricing is like $500 or $700. Manfrotto has been away, I would say, for a while. We haven't seen a lot of new Manfrotto products in quite some time. We might see something more substantial this year, I hope. But I wrote to them. I still didn't get an answer. Hopefully they'll get back to me soon about their plans.
How common is it to have a leveling base under the fluid head on a tripod at this price point? Tripod kit.
There are a few. There are a few.
This price point.
Especially for video, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it makes a lot of sense with stills as well. But I mean, with stills, you sometimes use a ball head, and a ball head you can level. You can sort of level yourself.
Right.
With video, if you're using a fluid head, it doesn't have a way to level it. So it's very important to have a leveling base or some sort of.
We've
leveling.
noticed how I don't know what it's called, but when you have that center thing,
the half bowl,
those are getting kind of annoying, like using those. And I think a good leveling base where I didn't see close enough on this, if this can do what I'm about to suggest, but if you can give it a little bit more fine adjustment, or when you're adjusting it, at least have it so that the whole camera, your whole rig doesn't tip so quickly. A little bit more control, and I'm assuming that a leveling base does give you a little bit more control.
I have an idea about this, which I'm not going to disclose here. As you know, we're making a lot of products with a lot of companies, but I have an idea about this, which I'm not sure if it's technically possible, but if it is, then I'm definitely going to make one. But that has to do with what you just mentioned. By the way, YC Onion, we're just using one of their tripods, has a leveling that basically system that doesn't require this handle underneath the tripod, the video tripod.
Right.
So you open something and you play with it and lock it. It's much more convenient, but it's still like it opens completely when you open it. So it still have the same problem you just mentioned. So it is what it is. There is a recent video by Frame Voyager, I think the name of the YouTube channel, which looks at this YouTube channel covers all sorts of like behind the scenes of different films.
Yeah.
And they looked at a recent film called the CONCLAVE, which deals with all sorts of like...
The selection of the Pope, right?
Yeah, all sorts of like things to do with Vatican basically, and it was I think released in 2024. And the thing is that, as some of you might assume, shooting in the Vatican is extremely difficult, if not impossible. Yeah,
Right.
Especially if you, I mean,
It's too risky and the space is being used.
yeah. It's. I'm not sure that the church itself will give you the option
That's
to
what I'm
shoot
saying,
everything that you want,
Right.
If at all. Like if you're shooting things that the church doesn't want you to
Right.
see.
How risque? We don't even know how risque the movie was, but
Yeah.
just being there, being in that
No, for
space,
sure.
probably not okay in terms of light, exposing those ancient murals. Yeah.
Of course. No. It's super complicated, if not impossible, for a lot of the shots. So what I'm saying is, this video basically looked at how the virtual effects for this production were made. It's kind of interesting.
Right.
I always love to look at this. I mean, it's not something that we do, but I mean, it's interesting to see how they basically duplicated like a lot of the I think bishops and like the scenery and all sorts of scenes.
The ceilings.
The ceilings,
Right.
yeah.
They constructed in one of the main rooms, they've got like the bottom of the room where everyone's sitting, but then the ceiling, which is so much more complex, they did with
virtual effects.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I think it's worth watching. If this sort of thing interests you, just go watch it. If it's just for fun, because it's an interesting production and behind the scenes basically. Shinobi, or actually Atomos, has a new Shinobi monitor, and this one is called Shinobi Go. Now, as you remember, we're actually using one of them, the Shinobi 2, which we saw in IBC last year. We're using it as one of the monitors for shooting LensVid Talk. And they have the Go, which is basically a cut-down version of the Shinobi 2. It basically doesn't have all the control features that the original Shinobi has. It's kind of strange because I see them as the highlight of the monitor. Yeah, but okay. It's less expensive. It's about, I think, $100 or so less expensive, $250. I would still go for the Shinobi 2 if that were the options. What
is
else?
This touch focus? Is that one of the features?
Yeah. So it doesn't have. So this one doesn't have it. Yeah, this is a more regular like monitor. It doesn't have the EL zone, which is like, I mean, depending on the target audience, maybe less important for some users. But again, it's an inexpensive option for people who want the quality of the monitor, which is the quality of the screen itself is good. But obviously the menus and everything else is basically supposed to be the same, but just the EL zones and the touch to focus and etc. is not the camera control is not there. Here's a company that we didn't hear a lot from recently, Sekonic, the Japanese manufacturer. Excuse me. So Sekonic has a C4000. Now, what is this? This is a spectrometer. We are using the C800, which we reviewed a couple of years ago. It's a fantastic unit. Has some drawbacks that we talked about, but the C4000 it's the first one that they actually brought that has app control. So you can control it from the app and have all the measurements from the light going into the app.
That's so much easier than having to upload to a computer.
Yeah. The whole process is super annoying. They also updated
was annoying. It was annoying in your older one.
I'll mention in a second why it's still annoying. This unit, they changed the USB-C. The previous one has a really strange like USB-B connection, like something really bizarre.
Like a printer port or something?
I know, like a really strange one. Not a printer, something else. It's not a mini and it's not a full A. It's something in between. Whatever, a very ancient, archaic one. This one is USB-C, finally. I'm not sure if I think it's still battery, like AA batteries, I think. I'm not sure, but this one is oriented towards like, I talked to them about this. I think like
interior designers.
Exactly, interior designers and maybe like art shows, art galleries, stuff like that. So I asked them, why is this not designed for us, for photographers, videographers. And apparently, and that's the big drawback, it can only go up to, if I remember correctly, I think 10,000 lux or something like that. So you can't really measure like high brightness power sources. So all the I don't know, 300 watt lights, even maybe some of the 150 or 100 watt lights are too powerful for this.
Interesting.
Why? I don't know. It's kind of strange. For like an art exhibition or interior decoration, it makes sense. It's fine. But for like testing what we're testing in here, no way. So I can't use it. Which is why we're probably not going to test it. I'm waiting for them to come up with a version C900, whatever, that will actually work with the app and be able to measure like normal light sources, high power light sources. The problem is that if they will ever come up with the C900, the C800 is I wouldn't call it old, but it's like 3, 4, whatever years now. The problem is that the existing one is $1,600. So how much would the new one cost? I know. So there are some options on the market that are coming that are supposed to be less expensive, still expensive, but less expensive, that we might test, hopefully not in the too distant future. But again, this I think that this is sort of a miss. It's interesting to see that they're going in this direction, but not for us. So for what it is. Let's talk about Western Digital. And we have interviewed them, if you remember, on IBC. We had the big interview with Western Digital. And they have a few new products. So the first one is 26 terabyte Red Pro hard drive. Wow. Mechanical hard drive. Yeah, that's pretty insane. I think that what's her name? Seagate have an even larger one, I think. But this is the biggest one that I think Western Digital has, which is not helium-based. I think they have a 26 helium-based one, which is very expensive. This one is not that expensive. I mean, it is, but relative to the size, it's $570. So, yeah.
That sounds about right for 7,200 RPM, but 26 terabytes.
Yeah. It's an 11-plater. So, yeah.
I'm just surprised that we can't go faster than 7,200 RPMs because
you
can't edit off of.
No, of course. You can't edit out of any of them by themselves. By the way, this is interesting. My wife, our producer, is also doing all sorts of all the editing for some of the productions that we are doing, at least some of them, the shorter ones. I just talked to her today, and apparently she's editing directly from our NAS unit, which is a QNAP, which has 6, actually has 8, but only 6 are populated drives, just like this. I think 22 terabytes.
They're SSDs though, right?
No.
Oh.
Hard drives, mechanical hard drives.
Oh, wow.
It has an SSD built in, which makes the whole thing a little bit faster for caching, but still. And she's editing directly from it without any issues, 4K. So, yeah. So
is that a RAID setup?
Yeah, of course.
Is it mirrored? Is there like duplication in the
It's
setup?
RAID. I don't remember if I set it to RAID 5 or 50, but
so there is
whatever,
some duplication.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I'm asking is because I wonder if that makes it go faster because then maybe it's pulling from multiple sources.
Of course. No, of course, it's fast. I'm thinking we are getting about 800 megabytes per second using basically 10 gig network. Yeah. So it's fast. It's fast enough for 4K for what we do. So yeah, that's an interesting new drive from Western Digital. The next one is something that I've recently seen. I don't even know how to pronounce it. KipperTie, whatever. LCminiND. So if you remember on IBC again last year, we have seen the variable electronic ND from. Do you remember the name of the Swedish manufacturer?
Yep. I don't remember the name.
The name.
But
I'll
do
put it
remember
on the screen. We did an interview with them. They developed a technology for variable electronic NDs,
Right.
or variable. It's not just NDs. They showed us, I think, in the show, variable and electronic. How would you call it? It changed. Do you remember what
They
it?
have two products that
Yeah,
we
the
looked
second
at.
one. Again, I'll write it on the screen, but it's not just NDs. That's the point. Anyway, so this company used that technology to go from EF to R as an adapter, and it's still like basically you have like a variable ND, electronic one, as a drop-in filter for EF. How do you call them?
Speed booster?
Basically it's an adapter from EF to R. So
Right.
that's the point. So yeah, it's an interesting product. I think it's not exactly the first. I mean, there was another company besides Tilta, which is still working on their electronic variable ND. So there was another one. Do you remember the second company? Again, I'll put it on the
Canon.
screen. What?
Canon.
No. It's a third party manufacturer.
sorry.
Yeah. It's
No.
it's another manufacturer that does this. So anyway, this is still under development. I think they're still, I'm not sure if fairly early on, but there is no pricing or availability for this product. But it's interesting. So that's that. And the last three products, because this is like 3-in-1, are from Godox, and they have a lot, as usual, a lot of new products. And all three of these ones are lighting products. So they have the ML100R, the ML1000R, and Litemons LA600R and BI. So it's actually 4 products. So the first one is 100-watt RGB, which is basically the newest, if you like, version of the ML100 BI.
Little handheld one.
Not handheld? I don't think so, if I remember correctly. This is like a mini,
Small
I think COB, I think.
Right.
That's the shape. So that one. The second one I think is the like really interesting one. It's M1000R. So it's an IP54, 1000 watts RGB light. Very, very powerful. CRMX, DMX, all the good stuff that you usually get. And it's $2,900.
Pretty expensive.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's mostly pretty expensive because it's an RGB. Because 1,000 like watt.
Yeah, you don't usually get RGB.
Yeah, a 1,000 watt like bicolor would probably cost from Godox around half that much. So this is probably the reason why this is so expensive. I forget what the most powerful RGB unit that what's their name, Aperture or
Yeah.
Nanlux have. Probably around the same, maybe more. I don't know. I think more, maybe 1,200. I know, but yeah, that's the M1000R. And finally, they have the Godox Litemons, which Litemon, I don't know if you noticed that Godox have the NOLED series, which is
Right.
their professional. It's similar to what Aperture have with their. Do you remember the name of their professional series?
It's another A.
They have the Amaran is
Amaran
their,
is not the
exactly
It's the lower.
so-
it's the budget line,
yeah.
right? So I don't know. what the
I
other
write it
one
on the
is.
screen. So, but the Litemons is supposed to be like I think similar to the Amaran for Godox.
Okay.
The way I understand it, again, companies usually don't like to be compared, but it's a line. I think in both companies, these are lines designed more for creators than like high-end professionals. That's the idea. But I see no reason why not to use it like in a studio environment. That's perfectly okay. It's just, it's not as robust. It's not water, doesn't have the IP54, or it's not maybe all metal design, but still like usable. It's white, like all the light moons, like
Yeah, that's
light,
interesting
white,
color
whatever.
choice.
Yeah, but it's a powerful light. I mean, it's an RGB or bi, and it's a 600 watt light. I don't have the pricing, but I'm assuming it's much more affordable than the Noled series.
Can I ask you a question about the 100R?
Yeah.
The wide sort of temperature range struck me between 1800 and 10,000.
Yeah, some of the RGB ones are capable of this. It's not that special, if this is what you're asking.
In such a small light, though, is that common? Is that something you've seen before? It's a pretty wide spectrum, but in a handheld, and essentially a handheld. I don't know how it's 100 watts, I guess.
Yeah, it's 100 watt.
Which is a lot for such a small light. It's really small.
Yeah, it's a very small light. It's a good question. I know.
That may make it unusual.
I think I've seen that before, but it's a good question. I know. So yeah, I'm still hoping to get at least the Litemons for testing. I asked them about the the M1000R, but apparently they're not shipping those for review anytime soon. So I know, but the Litemons can be an interesting product to review because of like how powerful it is versus how affordable, relatively speaking, it should be. So yeah, that's it, and that's everything that we have for you for LensVid Talk 34. Thank you, Lou.
Thanks, Ito.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll check you in the next LensVid Talk and our next reviews. Bye.
Bye, man.